Sideline of ball. Blake Widow's doing it. They're going to take. He's going to bring down Doherty. Alone with a double kill. Dropping fast. Bonavoid's there. He's still alive. Wait, no check his line. He's going one side. He's going a second. He's taking it. They're all die on three. They're all dead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is the Summit 2 by G2A.com, and we are in the C region, Southeast Asia, and we are on day number 13, and we got 4 best of ones for you today in this early morning here on the Pacific. Going to be joining me remotely for the casting. I personally, Coddle Guy, bringing you the English coverage, is going to be none other than Mr. Blaze. Blaze Casting, my friend, are you there? Are you hanging in there with this fine early morning of Dota action to come?
Oh yeah, up and ready to go. Enjoying the SCA Dota scene in general, and although it's a bit of a mix-up for Execration right now, in general, it's one of the scenes to watch as far as the up-and-coming teams, as far as those that are progressing and really improving in their rosters. I mean, Mythtrust has been one that's been pretty stable over the past 6 months or so, but I mean, they still always, for some reason, every time I cast them, they still have one stand. And even though they have a good roster of like 5 or actually 6 kind of players, they kind of shuffle in and out that 6th player kind of who's on the bench there. But he is going to be standing in here. Hopefully he's up to the task. And we do have a standing on the side of IAP Execration as well. That is Primo Nage for one of their slots, and Doc X for another. They've been actually shuffling between Primo Nage, Geo, and one other as far as who they kind of want as their 5th member, so to speak, since Jay, or Bimbo, as some know him, did take his leave from the team. And yeah, they're still kind of trying to find themselves after that, I'm assuming. I mean, Jay was a pretty core aspect of their team, in my opinion, and it even looks like they're kind of drafting around the style that he brought. The Death Prophet was a hero that he played very actively, very aggressively, and we'll see if Primo Nage is up to filling those big shoes.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of these teams trying to build up and find their new path because, you know, the roster shuffle, it's inevitable, and things are just changing around, and they're trying to find a new groove. But as far as the standings between these two teams, according to Dota2Lounge.com, the odds are going to be in favor for Execration, 61% to Mythtrust, 39%. And just as far as their current records and standings here at the Summit 2, it's going to be Execration currently sporting a 3-3 record. And, of course, for Mythtrust, we got 4-2. So both about in the middle ground. A few more extra wins could secure more of a top 4 position without having to go too deep into tiebreaker territory. So this win, very valuable to both of them. So let's actually talk about the draft, as we're already halfway through this freaking thing here. Execration, they grab a hold of the precious Lady Death Prophet, the Watermelon Man, Tidehunter, and Ogre. So you got 2 big, beefy boys who can bring big impact. Stun, a little bit of slow here with Ogre Magi, but heavy siege, not too much late game yet. On the side of Mythtrust, favoring much more late game, they grab a hold of Medusa as a 3rd pickup, and before that getting the precious combo, Faceless Void, Skywrath Mage. So big burst, big lockdown. Medusa can do definitely a lot from the outside and could use the advantage of Chrono on setting up an easy Stone Gaze. I like the synergy there, but it is a Medusa pretty early. I'm a little nervous about that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a potential for Medusa to be countered for sure. I mean, you can't ban out everything. The Nyx Assassin is a smart ban, but in the end, you're still going to be facing something that you don't necessarily want. Maybe the Anti-Mage could come through, though. Skywrath can handle him in the earlier stages, and Void actually handles him pretty well, even though a lot of the damage coming out from him is magic-based. But if they get their lane stabilized, I think that's the big thing here. Mythtrust pick up the Viper, they're going to run him in the mid, Void in the off lane, and that's going to give Medusa some time, because if the lanes just went all to hell and they were losing out on all fronts, the Medusa, they'd be gunning for her very, very early on. Like level 7, level 8, Medusa would be starting to see 3 or 4 heroes attacking her, and obviously then she wouldn't be able to farm. But in this case, if Viper can hold his own, just perform a notch above this Death Prophet, he's going to have the tempo in his lane. Void's always going to have the threat of the Chronosphere by the time he hits level 6, which he should in the off lane. And then I think they're going to be pretty confident in their team fight. So they have one more support to pick up, presumably one with a good kind of stun setup here. Obviously, like if we were looking at somebody like Team Secret, we might look at an Elder Titan support. But since we don't see that very often right now in any of the other scenes or most of the other teams, I would have to say something that's more oriented around stun. Maybe a Sand King could fit here. Just something that can give good disable so that Medusa can do her thing.
I really like the Sand King thought. I think that works perfectly with Mistrust, and you could still have a big impact around a Chrono. Having a valuable 4 outside of the Medusa to be able to contribute and be able to hold strong in that against the 4 versus 5, because Medusa's probably going to be farming and doing her own thing for quite a while and building on up to she's fully in her final form. So you need to count on your other 4 to really get the job done, creating space and, you know, breaking even, or even best case scenario, going above and beyond and winning those fights. So I like the Viper grab. You got a big bad boys put together here. Tidehunter and Ogre can be kited around easily, and now they're going to grab the Visage here. So, you know, still looking for a core. Can't help but throw out the name Drow, at least, you know. And also, you might be taking that away from Mistrust if they were considering it going it themselves. Visage and Medusa do work very nicely together.
Yeah, decent potential there. I mean, obviously the familiars just tear through people no matter what physically, and if they are stone gaze, that's going to be a nice amplifier. But yeah, I think that this Visage shows the tempo of execution. I'm not sure if they want to go aggro try right out, because it is important to zone the void as well, but it shows that they want to bring a lot of damage. I mean, if you think about it, the way they're going to start these fights is always with a Fire Blast and either a Ravage or a Crypt Storm, depending on what heroes are present, and that's always going to give you max souls on your soul assumption. So they can pretty much 100 to 0 a single hero. Maybe take out a Skywrath quickly, take out well, hopefully the Medusa if they can. They want her out as quickly as possible. But the idea here is a lot of damage with the first barrage of spells. And you get that Visage, you power down somebody, and 4 seconds later you're probably going to be able to be setting out another big one, because the spells are certainly going to be flying with all these heroes about. They do have a lot of damage on both sides potentially, but Execration are the ones that are really packing that first punch. They're going to ban out the Drow because, yeah, as you mentioned, they're looking for a core hero, probably a carry that would work well with the Visage, and yeah, you don't want to give that option through. But still, there are plenty of alternatives, and if you think about it, Visage right now provides a slowing effect with the Grave Chill and attack speed and movement speed. Ogre Magi enhances that with Bloodlust, so your carry is automatically going to have that advantage over Medusa or Void. It's just going to be about a hero that can survive through the Chronosphere long enough, but also has early enough tempo. I could see a Wraith King working here. I could see the Anti-Mage I mentioned if they go defensive try. I definitely think that they have a lot of options with the draft they've already laid out for themselves.
I would be nervous of picking, and you're talking about Execration, correct? I would be nervous about grabbing a Wraith King here, only already noticing that they're going to be going against something like a Viper as far as how he's going to get mobile already, going against potential slow to come. But I am behind you still with Anti-Mage, and he's just kind of one of the natural counters that are out there for Medusa as it is. So, you know, you could be working around that, but Anti-Mage can be very susceptible to a bad Faceless Void Chrono if he is caught out, so positioning becomes very crucial, and you're always kind of on eggshells. So figuring out what they're going to go instead on top of that becomes really interesting. I mean, Spectre's still out there and available, but all these heroes are relatively not going to have too much trouble with her. But we'll see. Sand King still a probable grab, though, on the side of Mistrust, as they're going to go into 30 seconds left. That's something we both thought was a pretty valuable grab, because they need a secondary support, someone who could feel a little bit more greedy even. Might even get a jungler now. No, it's going to be another long-range stun. It still works the same properties that, you know, about there with the Sand King, you know, long range, initiation, big team impact, you know, and can scale pretty well into the late game. So I like the setup. This tells me that Mistrust might even look to get aggressive relatively early, just draw more attention and focus away from Medusa.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential there for counter roaming in general. If Ogre Magi and Visage try to take their Vendetta up against the Viper, then Earthshaker can go to that lane and go for defensive fissures and things of that nature. And as long as he coordinates with the Void, I think that's a really strong pick. If it's like a stand-in running on either the Void or the Earthshaker, they're going to really have to focus on communication, because the Chronosphere and the Fissure are 2 abilities which can completely zone people out, completely deny a lot of space on the map and in the battlefield. But if they don't coordinate very well, if the Chronosphere comes out right on top of the Fissure, Void can't get any damage because he's running around this big obstruction and things like that, there's going to be problems. So we are going to see Void picked up by the stand-in, and he's got to emphasize communication with Boombo on the early skirmishes and really throughout the entire game. But as we're calling it, that final pickup there, probably going to be a defensive try as a result, but DocX is going to be running on that Anti-Mage.
Yep, Anti-Mage, just one of those natural counters to Medusa that's left out there, and, you know, they didn't opt to ban for it early, even though they grabbed the Medusa pretty early, so we'll see how it ends up working out for him in the long run. Going to be constantly aware of positioning, like I said, you know, getting caught off of a chrono can be devastating to someone like an anti-mage who, even with a BKB, it's not going to matter a whole lot. So we'll see as it goes. We dived into the game. This is our first one. We got 4 for you at the Summit 2 by G2A.com. Southeast Asia Division, our first matchup here. Myth Trust going against Execration, also known as IAP. On your Radiant side, it is going to be Myth Trust. I'll lead off your introductions. It's going to be He playing your Faceless Void. He's already kind of dancing tango in a bit here with your anti-mage. Also in the lane, at least to block it early on, it's going to be Mr. Gotcha playing, or TR rather, going to be playing your Earthshaker. In your mid lane, it is going to be MyPro playing your Viper. On the bottom, it is going to be Medusa, played by none other than Lakelz, a legend as far as core late gamers farming up, notoriously known for his Morphling, if I remember correctly. And finally, that will of course leave Mr. SD playing your Skywrath Mage.
So, I mean, they're already getting in good positions here. We're not going to be seeing too aggressive a stance in the laning phase from Execration, but they're pretty happy just to pick up the rune here and get some good early farm. Illusion rune for Lakelz. Looking over the side of Execration are IAP. We are going to be seeing Chemo running on the Ogre Magi, roaming around as a support with boots first. So, you know, he wants to get pretty active across the lanes. We are going to be seeing Tide take the offlane, that is Ewe on the Tide Hunter with interest. Oh yeah, he's got the boots on the ground here. So yeah, he's going to be able to start off well in that offlane 1 versus 2 environment kind of. And Primo Nage is going to be taking that Death Prophet to the mid. So she's going to get her bottle early with this very conservative build. And that's going to do well against the Viper. Fox on the top lane is going to be on your Visage. He's going to be supporting Anti-Mage, trying to get him some farm, and that's DocX for that one. So, yeah, I mean, there's tons of potential for the Anti-Mage to get aggressive early. He can go still for that Battle Fairy route that we know has been the kind of standard fare for Anti-Mage of the past, but honestly, Anti-Mage has gone through an evolution as a hero over the past several years. Like, a couple years ago, it actually was like Vanguard first as an item, just because he always wanted to survive. As long as Anti-Mage survived through the first 15 minutes, he was your late game carry. He could do whatever he needed to. But then people kind of started out-tempoing him with heroes like Spectre and Void as far as the potential to bring to the late game. So he started building harder carry. He started farming faster, went for the Battle Fury, and that's been the way for a while. But I honestly think that he's kind of on this new horizon where if he goes for early aggression once again, goes the Vanguard into the Crimson Guard, you can mitigate a lot of the damage that's coming in from Medusa Split Shot, and you can get very active and aggressive early while still getting a well-timed Manta style.
Indeed. We're seeing a lot of early roamage already, though, from the Ogre, and this is what you called out with those boots, and you see him already putting some mileage on these boots. He goes right towards the top lane. He wants to tussle a bit right now. I see your bat, and this is my club. Ignite, Bash Proc going to be right there, and now he's like, I'm not winning this fight. And now he's going to commit a Time Walk here. Anti-Mage's not going to pursue and get any sort of early mana burn in, but instead will opt to stay back in his lane. Just space created here for your bouncing Ogre, moving from top to bottom. The new rune is going to pop up here, 2 minutes. It's going to be quickly snagged up from Death Prophet. That leaves the regen rune at the bottom lane, yet no one to contest it. Now here we go, SD will go there, perhaps even babysit it for Viper to go grab on his own right, but he has to wait for his bottle to get back. For now he's salving up. Relatively quiet early game, the Kings of CS being their each own core. AM currently at 10-1, while Medusa on this bottom lane getting a lot done, only going against the Tide, but at the same time, Tide's also not, you know, under too much contention. He could find a bit of farm for himself. He's only at 2-0 right now though, but he could find the space to get a little bit of early farm. Arcane's Blink, the cookie cutter kind of a grab, and then he makes his big team impact. And, well, I guess this is the opportunity to say it is Seedota after all. There'll be pauses and many of them. Hell, make a drinking game out of it if you want. They're just going to be here, and they happen. Hopefully, we'll just get short ones as we go along.
Yeah, at least in context, short ones. Maybe people will be fidgeting their seats, but I've been sat through so many SEA Dota pauses that go like 15 minutes plus.
Yeah.
As long as we're not heading into that territory, I think you and I can kill the time pretty well. But for now, one thing that I do like about Mistrust Draft is how flexible they are and where they can put their heroes. Like Earthshaker can support the Void top and make sure that he gets his 6 and maybe a little bit of CS here and there because they aren't dedicated to stopping this Tide. Like you said, Tide, he got 2 CS. That's not the end of the world. He'll get a Blink Dagger, he'll get a Refresh Orb, and all these other goodies eventually. But the fact alone that they're blocking off the Ancients with Sentry Ward means that they're not too concerned about how rapidly he's developing. And he's certainly not going to inhibit the Medusa's farm, not with an Anchor Smash Kraken Shell build. So they're fine with SD roaming towards mid, covering runes. They're fine with Earthshaker covering the Void top, because they know the Tide is at least relatively under control, and that's really nice for them. If they can make sure that all the cores are not a threat to Medusa within the first 15 minutes of the game, that's going to be giving her the space she needs. For now, Sky's happy to duel out with her with the Tide because he's got 3 clarities, and so he can just spam these spells like crazy. Ewei does have a magic stick, so that makes it pretty nice, but in the end, he's still going to be falling back. The magic stick can only give him so much healing, and actually mid lane.
Yeah, they're really want to harass this Viper, but maybe Ogre is playing with fire here. He's got to get up the high ground. Oh, my mind. He's salving up. He's got to at least stop the salvin. I think he's handing over first blood right now, unfortunately. He's just going to get what he can, and hopefully Death Prophet can clean up a bit of redemption. No, she could go down as well if he just focus fires her.
Again.
Oh, it's going to hide through the trees and gets a double kill for Myth Trust, leading out the start of this one. Ooh, a disaster. Ogre still trying to add a lot of pressure in that mid lane. They get a bit overzealous, and Viper's just like, perfect. 2 kills for me to lead things off at 4 minutes in. Fantastic start for Myth.
Delicious intent. The Viper just that's such a good hero for that kind of thing. Like this hero loves to single people out. 1v1 early. The attack speed reduction on poison attack is actually a really big deal that people don't really give too much credence to. But a 20 attack speed reduction at the time was able to make it so Death Prophet was a little bit weird in her timing of attack, move, and my pro was able to single him out. There was no way the Ogre got out of that one. Like he turned around and fought and stunned because he had to. There really was no escape for him. They're going to smoke down bottom, though. Ewei doesn't have a Gush, and he's leading. This still should not be a kill. Like, no. I don't see...
Skywrath, even without boots, is pretty quick here, but he does get caught with the Fire Blast. Anchor Smash is there. Can they really pelt him down? I think they can. There's no one around here, not even for a good rotation in, unless he pulls off a Anchor Smash. Takes down the Birdman, just like that. Execration get themselves on the board, making it 1 for 2. They are on the way out. Ogre, though, might cross paths with the enemy here. Oh, a DD Viper on top of it. Quickly sees it, tries to DP. Unfortunately, Earthshaker's right there. Says, you're not going anywhere, buddy. In fact, you're going to hell. That's where you're going. Takes down Ogre, puts him back in his place, and another prominent kill for your Viper. All 3 kills on Myth Trust going into him in his pocket. He's a very happy boy right now.
Yeah. And Execration is really fortunate that their smoke didn't break earlier. There is this Observer Ward on the Radiant side, but it doesn't give that much vision to the western side or the central part of the Radiant jungle. So if the smoke had broken before they crossed that line, there's no way they find the kill. But because it's nighttime, the smoke is to get them in that position, and then obviously they use the Fog of War for the rest of it. So they had the boots advantage, and that's enough. But if they didn't have both boots first, and SD did, or if SD did have boots himself, then that would not happen at all. And he's actually just going to ward it up so that doesn't happen again. There's no way to make that smoke play twice, and he's going to feel a little bit safer about doing his own jungle things. But for now, they're going to keep tabs on the Ancient Camp, make sure Tide's not bring that down, and actually using this path, which I love to see supports use. Wrapping around here on the western side of the Radiant, or side of the Dire Tier 1 bottom is going to give them
they walk right into him. Ewei, he just runs right into 2 of them. They might be able to take him down pretty easily here. He still has Fissure to use. Yeah, he's done for. Ewei, he's got nowhere to go, nothing to buy. Just, hope that you go to your watermelon god up there in the sky, and he does. He just goes down. Easy peasy takedown from the 2 supports. It's just kind of the gank that much easier for him. Don't even have to get the lane involved. Medusa could just keep farming.
Did get pressured pretty hard in the meantime. Both the Ogre and the Death Prophet on him once again. But he Viper Strikes, he gets his way out of there, and he finds his way to he's gonna, he bottled up the Bounty Rune as well as popping a Salve, and he's gonna be right back in this lane. I mean, he'll have the headdress component now, and then he has only has to farm with the recipe to find the mechanism, give him some real HP sustain. But it looks like they want to go on Primo.
Yeah, Concussive Shot to lead things off. Arcane Bolt, they're going to try to surround her, setting her up with that Fissure. She is going to go down, did not level her ultimate, can't get it out there, can't use anything with it. ES will be clubbed down 1 more hit. He should fall into the hands of Ogre. There it is. But still on the way out. Fortunately for Tyler, not level 6 at this point. Can't pull out a big Ravage. But AM can come in, get a nice pickoff right there. Even commits the Mana Void to take down Skywrath, making it a 2-for-1 trade when it's all said and done. Slight advantage for Myth Trust, taking down Death Prophet.
Yeah. Tide does have to skill up Gush early, but as we talked about, the Ancients have been warded up, and they actually put out a second Sentry Ward here, so there was really not that much value in the second anchor. But we do see up top, Hehe is going to lose on a lot of mana here, won't be able to Chronosphere, only Time Walk is available here, and not even that. He's taking a lot of hits here, and although maybe one auto-attack backtrack is enough to keep him alive, it's dangerous situations, but he will walk away and actually get healed up. They want to go for a play here. Chronosphere plus Fissure. I still don't say kill. I mean, even if you get the Chrono.
They need a lot of lockdown. They're going to try Fissure and then time it out Chrono, and then they still have a silence after to lock them there. If they get it off, they will. Enough burst. Nice one more right click. They still gets away. Lingering auto attack. Not even going to be able to come in their favor. AM still managed to slip out, just not quite. Oh, the long range Fissure also just coming up short. Hopefully that's not his doom. No, it will not be. He steps back. But, man, just one more little attack would have been enough. They tried to calculate it. They had it all perfectly working in harmony, but just not enough.
They executed perfectly, for sure. Yeah. But in the end, unless you have 2 points in Ancient Seal there, you don't find that kill. It's just a fact of life there with the 1 point in Spell Shield. You're mitigating a lot of damage forthcoming from Myth Trust. You need one more bash, or you need an extra point in Ancient Seal, and neither came, unfortunately. So for now, I guess they're pretty happy about. Actually, Chemo canceling a TP here, but yeah, they're pretty happy about the laning phase in general. It would have been really nice to get that anti-mage kill, but in the end, I still don't think that DocX is going to be active for a while, and that still means Deuce has plenty of time to do her thing. She's confident enough to get a Midas here. Lakelz, you talked about it. This is the legend of the late game SCA carries. Like, this is the hardest carry in SEA. I mean, there are so many that would try to dethrone him, but Lakelz time and time again continues to impress me when it comes down to just those really hard carries. And yeah, here we are, one of the hardest in the game, Medusa, going for FaZe and Midas. Just so confident in his team to give him the space he needs.
Yep, and he's making it work right now. He is putting that snaky backside into high gear right now as far as bringing in the farm for his allies. Will they create the space and make plays happen on the back of a Chronosphere, I'd imagine. Now trying to de-ward. They might make a go here on Skywrath Mage. Do they commit a Ravage for this kill? They could if they wanted to, but not even necessary. They just kind of run him down after the back end of that slowing Gush and Ignite combo. And one simple Anchor Smash is going to kind of take it home. Skywrath falls. 5-4 your new score here as far as net worth is concerned. Just a slight advantage for Myth Trust on your Radiant side. But with the tower takedown here on the back end of a Exorcism, Execration could look to try to take something back. Will there be a defense? We'll have to see. The Glyph is already going to be popped. SD back from his death. Already joining the mid lane. Hehe is here and has Chrono ready to go, but fortunately Skywrath. Oh, Ravage as he jumps in makes the Chrono not get a whole lot out of it now, but still they pull back. Nice counter Ravage, I guess you could say. Maybe they'll get a kill out of this one. They're taking it to Viper, slowed down tremendously. Exorcism though going to be coming to an end, and he's bursted down from the high ground. Nice shots coming out from SD on that Skywrath Mage.
Yeah, the Fissure right there, it had clogged, so there was only pretty much a single file line of heroes that could go through, and there were 3 heroes in the river at that time. So everybody trying to hustle and bustle through the Macy's elevator, escalator, and they're just not able to all get up there. It's going to be the Death Prophet cutout in the river, and that's a very important kill. Like, in that situation, you usually wouldn't say that there's a great kill opportunity, because right now Myth Trust are very lacking in damage, but when you get that much time for Skywrath to just unload 3 volleys of Arcane Bolt, you're going to find many more opportunities than one would normally expect. And now that Ravage has been used and the Death Prophet has fallen, they've not only halted the Exorcism push on the mid lane, but they have stifled any chance for Execration to pull out a team fight in the next several minutes. I mean, they'll go for smoke gank because that's pretty much all they can do is single somebody out 2v1 or 3v1, and we'll see if they can find the opening on Lakelz.
Yeah, it might be Lakelz here. Medusa creeping nearby is going to stop, but she's in a pretty nice position as she, look at this, she's playing so cautiously, knowing something ain't right now. Way far back. They're actually not going to make the move yet. Now the birds are moving over. They're still creeping. They're like, can we do this? She is so far back. Man, she is farming defensively. They really just can't find the right time to like make the go in. They're like, we can't quite see mid lane if there's going to be someone quickly to rotate over. Earthshaker is in the fog as far as we know. Top lane, you know, Skywrath Mage is in the fog. We don't know where they are, and we can't go on to someone like that, so they're not making the move. So bottom lane, they'll just push a little bit for there, and we might see a tier 1 for tier 1 trade.
Yep, and they did see that there was an Observer Ward in play. They put down a Sentry Ward, but they refused to deward it until their smoke was gone. But that little, once the smoke was gone, that little sliver of vision that it provided was
Dire's
enough
top
for
tower is
Lakelz to know
under
to hightail it out of there and not farm that
Dire's
second creep.
structures are
So yeah,
fortified.
just a tower trade for now is going to favor Myth Trust in my opinion, because
Radiant's bottom
they can
tower
feel
is
like they have
under
momentum
attack.
behind them now. I mean, they can take the
Dire's
next
top
fight
tower
off
is
of this
under
Chronosphere,
attack.
and Lakelz is still doing great. I mean, it doesn't have his split shot to farm up these stacks, but he's still good
Radiant's
enough with just a
bottom
Mystic
tower
Stake
has
alone,
fallen.
since most of these creeps have mana, and he gets a full mana bar every time he uses it. So, still able to farm quite extensively,
top
and
tower is
although
under attack.
some of his area has been
Dire's
suppressed, and it's
top tower
important
has fallen.
that is accomplished, the fact that they use an exorcism for it just makes it so that Mythos have nothing to fear.
Yeah, they have plenty of time to work with. As long as it's like they still have more structures for them to work for and they make them sweat for it a little bit, or just squeezing the clock a little bit longer for our Medusa to just get to that immortal goddess kind of a state that we've come to know. And we'll see for Execration. They might have to
Radiant's
start
bottom
stepping on the
tower is under
accelerator a little
attack.
bit here. Take more advantage every time there's an exorcism up, put it to use. Get something down. Take some objectives. Make some fights happen right now. You know that they're not going to have everyone use advantage in numbers if you got it, for God's sakes. But at the same time, they have an AM who also needs to find his own way and his own bit of farm. He's going with the Battle Fury build, but mid lane, they make the jump. Chronosphere, Mystic Flare follow-up. They make quick work of that Death Prophet. Primo is out for the count right now. That's just your classic combo. It doesn't matter who's under the bubble. They're going to be going down.
Yeah. If he has a Yule Scepter, then there's a chance for that to actually turn the other way, but as it is, you have to have great reflexes to dodge out of Chronosphere, or you have to wait for them to make a mistake in their skill orders. But in this case here, he's nowhere near that. He's just got the drums. So here at 14
Radiant's
minutes, we just
middle
look at that
tower
Death
is
Prophet's
under
farm and
attack.
say, is that the 6.82 nerfs, or is that the player Primo Nage? Because right now, 4,600 net worth compared to the Viper's 5,700. It's a hard matchup because of how great Viper is in a lane, but that's a pretty dominating number right there. And there's just a lot to tell as far as how that mid lane went and how lacking Death Prophet's items are at this point in the game.
I agree. We'll have to
Dire's
see, though.
bottom
This
tower
is
has fallen.
just how Death Prophet is. I mean, they still say Death Prophet's a force to be reckoned with, more considerably so on your Dire side, which they're working with right now. But as time goes on, she seems to just slowly be falling off quite a bit, but a lot of teams still favor her and her huge ability to be able to bring the game back at the bake, even in the late game. But she still's got a long way to go. She opted to go for the drums. If she even wants to still consider Yules, that's still another step before she can bring up a bit more durability for herself. Right now, as we saw under that combo, she just gets blown up too quickly, too easily, and now she has to enforce like bodyguards to be lingering nearby, as you see here, Visage and Ogre nearby just in case they try to make another move like that again, because that Chrono's just about up, 30 more seconds, and they can put it to use once more. Just feels like Myth Trust have the rhythm of this game, and Execration need to start to find their way.
Yeah. Lakelz is just in full farm mode right now. He picked up the Yasha here. He's got so many items to enhance his abilities to just build up his item pool, but he's actually going to be contributing to this fight here. They got a great choke point for Stone Gaze if they feel threatened, but it looks like they almost want to push against Ravage and Exorcism, which I would argue against. I don't think that's going to be their best course of action. He makes his TP, but then immediately goes back to the creeps here, and is just going to be farming those out as quickly as can be. He's got the Midas, gets a little bit of AoE damage help from Boombo, but otherwise he's going to be doing his own thing and getting his own gold. But Anti-Mage, one step ahead here, does pick up the Battle Fury, and this is going to put him back on the map. Didn't go for the aggro build, the Mana Bright Crimson Guard, so he's been quiet for the past 16 minutes, and as a result we see a 0-4 Death Prophet that's only taken one tower, and we see a Viper that's at 3-0 and 2, rocking the mech, looking for Ags. But if they can make this Anti-Mage worth their while with the cleave farming, then it's still going to be their game to move into.
Yeah, I would hate for them to put so many eggs in the AM basket, though. There's still huge team fight potential on Myth Trust with your Echo and Chronosphere kind of setup. And they're jumping in. Big Blink Ravage right there. My Pro gets locked down briefly. Ignite's going to slow him in his spot. They turn back. Here's the Stone Gaze. First one of the game being thrown out. Fox is frozen solid and bursted apart. Now they jump back. Big Mana Void comes out, and they're able to burst down Earthshaker. Fighting under the tower now, jumping forward. A-Wave takes down Medusa with a fantastic anchor smash. And now My Pro forced to watch and retreat down to half-life. It's Execration who get the better of that one. 2-1 is the death count trade. But man, what a huge setup from A-Wave with that Ravage.
Yeah. I'm not sure what happened with Hehe's
Radiant's
TP.
middle
It's on
tower
cooldown
is
right
under
now, and he
attack.
was at the top lane, but
Dire's
somehow
top
didn't make his
tower
way to
is
mid.
under
So I'm not
attack.
sure if he saw a bad position and canceled it, or if he's just straight up accidentally
Radiant's bottom
misclicked and didn't
tower
join
is
that
under
fight.
attack.
But the end result is IAP pull ahead by far. The amazing play from the Tide there. I mean, that's really what a Tide Hunter could accomplish with a Blink Dagger this early on. And although he doesn't go for the durability build, they don't actually have a mechanism on their team or anything, he's still able to do so much work with that with the Blink Dagger that I feel it's well worth it. It's also pretty interesting that Gargoyle was the one to get petrified, but that's just a little bit of a flare type.
Of all the
interaction
heroes, you
rather
think
than
there'd be
anything else.
one that would be fine with being turned to stone, but unfortunately, jump in, anchor smash, threat, but it's
Nice.
he who ambushes them with a nice chronosphere, and the burst combo once again hits DP hard. Now they put their attention on Away. No Ravage this time, we know that. But he can't be taken down. He stands strong, gets back out. It's AM on the chains. He wants to finish off Ehe, who time walks out and away from this one. But they burst back. It's Viper looking to go for Visage. Does get him taken down, but he will fall under the Mana Void from your AM. A double kill for Viper, but it is AM who takes down the Viper there at the end. He inherits a lot of extra gold and a little bit of extra farm. After getting that Battle Fury, he's now already up to 2k gold. He instantly buys his Yasha, and it's on its way.
Yeah, I mean, Lacels wasn't in that fight, so he was actually getting more farm than the Anti-Mage in that situation, but they deny the tower, they deny Mistrust progression, and they have to be feeling pretty good about winning a team fight between the Ravages. That's really what you got to accomplish, saying Exorcism and Ravage are our team fight winners, but what do we do in between? And although that was a really good Chronosphere initiation, they still kind of stopped the bleeding. They managed to negate majority of the threats, and they were able to get that tower denied. So overall, Execration are pretty happy with how that played out, considering the cooldowns that were committed. But in the end, they still, in the broader scope of the game, have to deal with more. They're stacking up hard for this Anti-Mage. They're going to get him a nice stack on the eastern side of the Dire jungle here, and he'll be able to cleave through that. They also have the Ancient stacked up ×2. But yeah, it's going to be all on this Anti-Mage to bring himself into the next stage in the game, because I mean, the Tide's been great, but he's nowhere near a Refresher Orb. Like, he's actually looks like he's building up the Oblivion staff with his current item set, and he's actually Anchor Smash farming down these Ancients. So it looks like they want to prioritize a Refresher, but one Serpent, Mystic Snake, coming up from Medusa, and he's not going to have the mana to go for that double combo.
Yeah, but if he does get the positioning and he pulls together a Refresher and has the mana to back it up, it would be huge team fight impact. You're looking at a team on the side of Mythtrust who are nowhere near the makings of any sort of BKB. I don't see even a component thrown together as of yet, so that's guaranteed full lockdown. Now, of course, it comes down to precision and actually landing the Ravage. I don't know how many times we've seen these Tides with double Ravages, and they have to use a second one as a backup because they blew their first one somehow. So we'll see, though, as a nice, very aggressive ward going to be thrown out here from Mythtrust. They're looking to go for their own pick-off path here, kind of nerf down the farming pattern that AM has been building up for himself comfortably. But on the other side, we got a Smoke Gate coming up from Execration, and they're heading to a land where they could possibly run into Medusa, but really nothing else around.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to find that opening if the Medusa's careful. Lacels has been playing very conservative, very passive, and very defensively around when he's been farming, especially when he knows the enemy's off the map. But he is going to move out to the creep wave here. Although they don't have a Eul's to initiate, they have so many other tools. They have the Blitz, and Lacels is just on the run. He goes for a bounty rune, and they're just going to say, okay, screw it, we'll take the tower. They have a lot of physical damage, but there's a free fortification coming out, and it looks like Mythtrust are going to take the tier 2 against them.
Yeah, it is a better trade on paper right now for Mythtrust, getting more done further into the map here on the top lane. Now they can play more aggressively and try to take away a lot of the vision from the comforting Execration farm side of the map. So we'll see as they pull back, they get their tower trade. A little more pressure also coming out from the bottom lane. That's just going to be quickly AM stepping back, and now he'll take down the farm from the top lane. So just continuing to hopefully put together a lot of farm until he's finished that peak of farming comes out, and we'll pretty much see our clash of the titans between a farmed up Medusa and a farmed up Anti-Mage. The question is, are we going to see that at about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 70 minutes? We'll have to wait and see how patient these teams want to play.
I don't know. It feels like IAP are playing pretty greedy right now, in the sense that Away and of DocX are both trying to build up AoE clearing farm. Like, they go for Cleave, they go for Anchor Smash. Both of them have the tools to clear stacks, but the fact that they're splitting half those stacks means that both heroes will be hitting good items around the 26-27 minute mark, when they could have just one hero that's ready to go now. So the fact they don't have the Manta just yet, they're almost there. But the fact that they don't have it just yet, and obviously they're nowhere near the refresher orb, it just kind of is showing that they don't have enough.
They're making a jump on AM with the big combo, but Ravage is going to be right there. AM should be fine. He's still silenced. They can't get him again. He slips away barely, and tied under cleanups to Skywrath Mage, who tried to get it off in the first place. This is 2 times now we've seen this AM able to slip away. Just one more right click, one more lingering spell or something. The timing's just not in line, and he gets away, and they grab a free support kill.
Yeah, and Intimid's just going to go right back to farming. Picks up his Manta Style, which would have been taken away from him with that kill.
They want Faceless Void now top lane. They're pressing forward. They don't have Ravage anymore, but they have 20 seconds till Exorcism's up, and this top tier 1 tower looks absolutely delicious.
It looks pretty good. They do have 4 here, and they don't really have anything to fear. I mean, they traded the Chronosphere for the Ravage, and I would say right now both those abilities are on the same level of teamfight dependency from both sides. So by kind of trading that 1 for 1, they actually could have pushed that if they felt they had the advantage. But because they don't know where Mistrust are, they don't know if there's going to be 4 heroes waiting for them behind the tower, they're just going to do the safe play. They're going to farm, they're going to spread the map, and maybe go for Roche pretty soon. I mean, they got the Exorcism, and it looks like that Primo's right in the pit. Yeah, they say, no Chrono, we're going to go right in. And honestly, what stops them from doing this? Like, the Echo Slam is available for Boombell, but he's got to blink hard, he's got to blink fast, they're going to smoke in. They need a huge Echo in order to not... I don't even know if they'll stop this, but to win this fight.
Oh, they're going to start off by sending in the illusions from Medusa. Lakel's is first on the scene, but the Roche is already taken down. Fissure will lock him in the pit for a little bit. Stone Gaze is out. Now a big Echo does fly, catches on the 2 of them. Earthshaker immediately crumples, but the right click's coming out from Lakel's, trying to get Primo put in a corner, but she gets all of her life back. Now they do lose Tidehunter. Faceless Void does quickly crumble. The Manta, unfortunately, not going to help for very long. He gets it right at the back end of his life, so they just will end up being used. Now he jumps forward. He wants to finish now. Viper, very low life, very low mana. Probably not going to get away from this one. The Yules is going to secure this kill as he's put in his place. Maybe a little bit more damage. No, a slam from the R button comes out from AM, and they clean it out. But what contention coming out from Myth Trust, and they don't lose Lakel's. And I don't know. And they do manage to take down the Aegis. It's hard to say, man. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it could have been, but it still definitely favors IAP. I mean, getting the Roche in general, that was something that was slated when they went for the play, because Myth Trust were just slow enough to, just barely slow enough to react, that they were guaranteed the Roche off of that Exorcism. But following that up, trying to make it something happen, and they did break the Aegis, 3 kills for 3 kills, essentially. I would have to say that Myth Trust are okay with how that went. It definitely wasn't as bad. And Lakel's is going to find his Scotty soon. Still, IAP, at least for the moment, are better off because they get the golden experience from the Roshan. They take that one, and obviously the Anti-Mage able to do a lot of work in that fight, start showing what he can accomplish. The Manta style wasn't great. Still burned the mana, though, of the Viper, and then he gets that explosion. Not really many great mana bombs, other than the Medusa herself, and she's obviously going to be stone gazing, making it difficult to stay on her in terms of mana break goes. So, yeah, they get a lot of good stuff out of that team fight, and again, they have the Ravage to follow up the next one. They still want to build up towards more, though. They want to build up towards that refresher, and yeah, it looks like the tide is pretty close, but even then, again, the mana issues are going to be prevalent. I mean, right now he's floating 850. He'll get a little bit more with the recipe pickup of the refresh orb, but not much. So still going to have to manage it carefully.
Mid lane, Viper throws out a Viper Strike onto DP. Looks like they're trying to bait him out a little bit here. Lakel's now sweeps on through. They have 2 support lingering in the woods nearby while a push is coming in from above. So it looks like they will commit instead on this mid lane and try to go for a trade. The tier 1 top lane does go down. Still Myth Trust on this tower right now, waiting to see if there's going to be any sort of defense coming out from the side of Execration. Not looking for it yet. Blink and Ravage is ready, but they need more people here. They're not going to go with 3. They might just end up sacking this tower. Doesn't look like they're going to glyph whatsoever. Nothing really coming out of it. Instead, just top lane, the other 2 just getting a lot of side farm as Ogre watches over Anti-Mage.
Yeah. If the Medusa tried to TP there, they probably would have canceled it with Stone.
They do go in. They do catch him with Chrono. Mystic Flare, but he soaks up so much of that damage, but the silence and the Echo Slam do put the exclamation point on that one, and they do manage to bring him down. They commit a whole lot for it, about, what, 3-4 ultimates, but the big boy does go down, and we'll see what Myth Trust do with this little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I think there was going to be a TP cancel play there for Execration if the wrong heroes had tried to leave. If Lakelz had tried to TP out, the Familiars would have come in from the flank and actually gotten the Stone Form off, and they would have been able to pretty much 3v1 the Medusa. But as it was, they were able to just get the Chronosphere, get all those big ultimates, actually created 3 ultis to bring down the Anti-Mage, but in the end, DocX falls, Lakelz keeps farming, and that Skadi is online. So, very scary business. It really is on the Anti-Mage now to make something happen against Lakelz, because, honestly, the essentially pure damage that you get out of mana removal is going to be the only thing that can actually break her down. Like, Medusa is just so tanky right now, with this item giving her both a good helping of HP, and the mana, which actually helps her survivability as well, of course. So,
and what do you take it from there? Do you start going to the butterfly, add that little bit of evasion onto the table right there that puts more pressure on your AM to kind of throw together an MKB? He has nursed a little bit of gold here, about 4K. Obviously, he might need to start considering holding a little bit of that investment for a buyback, but if he doesn't go for an MKB in this next investment, that puts him one step behind. If she does blitz forward for something like a butterfly, do you think that's something that she could go for, or is she going to personally go for something different?
I think the butterfly is the better option, but the alternative would be a BKB. You are up against a Refresher or Tide. You are going to be looking at bigger multicasts coming out from Ogre soon, and obviously that always puts pressure on your cores to build BKBs. But at least for the moment, I think he's okay to avoid it. It might be like a 5th or 6th item that he wants to pick up, but I think he still wants to hold off a little bit longer. So I would say Butterfly would be a great next pickup, and he should still have the survivability he needs. As long as the Anti-Mage doesn't get a ton of time, like if he doesn't get to right-click the Medusa during the full duration of 2 Ravages, he still should be okay. I mean, you're still a very tanky hero. But we'll see right now, a tier 2 for tier 2 trade, and that Refresher Orb is so close for Ewe. This is frightening. This, Tide is such a hero right now. Like, in the draft, like, we don't see him banned out in the first phase that often, and I honestly think that that's a mistake by a lot of teams, because this hero is not about necessarily what he brings, because people say, oh, you can just buy BKBs and negate his presence, but the fact that he forces those BKBs by himself, and then you have to deal with things like Exorcism, Familiar Damage, the Anti-Mage, I really think that that innately already gives you a lot of grief. Like, right now, obviously the Face of the Void is picking up the BKB more so, because the Visage targets them with like 2 or 3 soul assumptions every fight, and that really hurts when you're running Mask of Madness. But the double Ravage is going to force that so much more so. Like, I think, honestly, all 3 cores should have a BKB by the end of this game.
They need to get it. I like the idea of getting it later as long as you can plot it out that way. You get the most mileage out of your BKB the later into the game when you still have a fresh 9 seconds to work with. Otherwise, your BKB is going to get round up quicker than the first Ravage is even going to be completed. So, and then there's really no point on finding the right timing, because you're always going to still be susceptible to a lot of big bursts. But the longer they wait, the more time they get out of it. We'll see if Medusa wants to go down that road after what looks like the butterfly with the Eagle Saw already in hand. It looks like she is going to get a little bit of the extra evasion right there. That makes things a little bit more pesky for your anti-mage, because he needs to get that mana down, and it's going to be a little bit more troublesome now. Though he has a heart, he's getting pretty swole. They're charging down this lane, but up and above, they get a nice Eul's catch off here on SD. He's trying to make his way out with this TP. The Bird's going to be there in time. They will not be there in time. He makes his way out with a nice quick TP reaction. Now Execration smoke up and walk themselves towards this tier 2 bottom lane. We'll see if Mythtrust go for a defense, but the Exorcism is going to be popped. They could forfeit this one over.
Yeah, they got a pretty big echo here, though. The illusions are in play. They got a lot of creeps, but Anti-Mage will be able to tank up through most of it, and it's going to be Ewe to jump first.
Ooh, big Ravage does lock Viper in place. They do take it down. There's your second Ravage. It only comes before Chrono catches on 4, and she is looking right into the eyes of everyone. Locks them in place, takes them down with huge split damage. Big Echo Slam on the back end of that one, clears out the rest, and it's 4 down all day. Chemo, the lone survivor, trying to get away, hiding in the corner. Please don't find me. We found ya. Boom. Wow. It's going to be a full 5-man wipe at the end of that one. Huge plays coming out from Mythtrust.
I'm just slack-jawed looking at He's Chronosphere. That faceless Void play. That's, I mean, like, we've seen so much Void in 6.81, and now into 6.82 he's still quite prevalent. That's still the best Chronosphere I've seen in several months. That was absolutely insane. Catching all 4, 3 out of 4, looking at the Medusa during Stone Gaze, and not catching Medusa just outside the lip. Like, that is absolutely beautiful. And coming from a stand-in, I can't imagine a better way to turn this game in Mythtrust's favor. That's exactly what they needed in that situation, because the double Ravage was so present, but my God, that just was gorgeous. Highlight reel material for sure. That is an insane chronosphere, an insane setup for Lakelz to just deliver a huge whopping of damage. I mean, if you look at the team, there's no damage other than Medusa. Actually, Lakelz just marches right up to the high ground again.
Way confident here. Just the Lady Medusa takes herself right up to the high ground and just goes right for the tower. Now she's eating full force damage from AM here.
No.
Maybe a bit overconfident there, Milady, as now she's trying to make the retreat out. Can she get out of the fogged area? Ogre's on the hunt here with Bloodlust. Does get it off at the ×2 multiplier. Medusa goes down in a bit of overzealousness, trying to parade her way to the victory line, it looked like. But now Viper caught out with that Yules. Fisher follow up to a little bit of defense, but it's not going to be enough. Soul Assumption plus the right click coming out from AM. They clean out 2 for 1, and man, oh man. Well, Mythtrust, you were looking good right there. I think they just got a little too excited about pushing.
Yeah, they said, okay, we took this amazing fight. They've got no refresher Ravage, and they're like, okay, well, if they don't have that, then we can take anything. But unfortunately, you put your Medusa on the high ground up against an anti-mage, and they didn't have enough control against them. So maybe if you just go for like slow siege with the Mantle Illusions from the Medusa, you get some good tower damage, you walk away, that's fine. But by walking up to the top of the steps, that's a very Moxious move. You're boasting that you feel really confident in your team, and unfortunately, IAP have a lot to boast about themselves. So they take you down pretty quickly. Now they're using the Medallion to clear out Roshan, which luckily spawned like the moment they needed it to, and they will take the Aegis and hold it this time.
And they're making it work right now. They'll take down the big bad boy with no contention whatsoever. That's a free extra life right now for your AM, who's already a pretty slippery noodle to take down as it is. So now he's got a sweet double farm stack to work with right now. He's got 2K gold filled up, reserving a little bit of that extra flavor, of course, for his buyback, but we'll see who's looking to add the pressure. No big formal push coming out, except for that disaster one that came out from Mythtrust. So I wonder now how long they're going to step back and go, okay, whoa, we got a little excited there. Let's shake it off a bit. We'll farm up a little bit more, and then we'll make another go at it. But Medusa's already getting to her pinnacle point right here. What do you think is her next step? Does she go for Travels?
BKB.
Or
she has to. I mean, Travels is good.
BKB is selling the
slot-wise,
Midas, yeah.
I really think the BKB should be even prioritized higher than the Boots of Travels, just because it does, for those that don't know, it does prevent the mana break, it does prevent feedback in general. So by negating mana burn and by negating Ravage, you have nothing to worry about on this hero. But until she gets that, there's so much that can happen. We saw it obviously right there in the enemy base, although a lot would argue that's about positioning. You can't control the positioning of this Tide. He is still going to jump in, look for the double Ravage. He's not 16 yet, but no matter the case, he is bringing a lot of stun, a lot of damage, and he's setting up Anti-Mage to do insane damage when you actually look at the numbers of what Mana Break can do to a hero like Medusa. But in the end, if she doesn't have a BKB within like 5 minutes time, she actually could lose this game. Whereas if she gets it and she uses it well, she almost has this one like guaranteed. At that point, Anti-Mage has to look for rat dodo plays rather than brute force.
Yep. So we'll see if that's going to be the game plan. Lakelz farming through enemy territory here. No big push coming out, just a little pressure there on the bottom lane towards Mythtrust Stride as they look to just kind of create space, deward, get control of their execration side. And they'll go ahead and just migrate towards top, and on the way back, Void just fighting a bit of his own farm here. He had his BKB complete, and he is going to be prioritizing big ultimates. He's got the point booster already picked up. He's going to go right for the Agnum Scepter, and we'll look to see if he can put it to solid use. We see a few more of those, and Mythtrust are going to be in pretty solid shape in these team fights, but I feel like maybe Tide has learned his lesson, doesn't want to kind of blow his whole load too early, now that you see the potential that Mythtrust can throw together. So we'll see. Execration still just taking it nice and easy. They pressure top lane with the smoke.
Oh no, the Familiars! Two of them down with just 2 split shot auto attacks. The third one sitting down in stone form. You cannot feed your Familiars that way, especially 2 Lakelz in particular. One more shot, no, he doesn't get the third bird, but even still, nice sum of gold, and that's resummons off on cooldown for another minute.
200 gold, right? I mean, 100 for each bird, I believe. So
yep, exactly.
Yummy, yummy. 2 Benjamins right now for Medusa to take back, and now she's pushing up to 3K. Thank you so much, Visage. I like that. Midas is up to Centaur, and now she's ridiculous. She's rich. Freaking gold digger over here. She'll head back to base, and we'll see if indeed she will sell off this Midas, perhaps throw together the BKB, or go balls to the wall and build in more damage instead. So we'll see what the game plan's going to be for her, but it is pressure now on them to take advantage of this Aegis if they want to for the side of Execration. I mean, now they're pressing down this mid lane. We saw the clock come up. He has about 2 minutes to put used to it, and it looks like mid lane might be where it is.
So we are going to see Death Prophet pick up a BKB. She's still only at 7 armor, so that's to be worried about the physical aspect. At least she won't be like Echo Slam, Mystic Flare down anymore. Primo, she can just do his thing with the Yule's immunity and with the BKB. He's confident going with the Exorcism here, but still, if that God Chrono comes out, I mean, what can you do? We'll see.
Tidehunter in prime position up on that mezzanine, waiting to come down with the Ravage Pain. Medusa creeps on forward. They don't get the deny. They do take down the tier 2. Execration for now. Immediately pull back. They're not looking to kind of press forward with more than what they already got. So it looks like Ogre doing a little bit of Mission Impossible. Is going to play it safe, pull out a TP behind a tree after putting on a pretty aggressive Ops Ward over here, maybe to lay down the foundation of a future engagement. But quickly, Mythtrust come together for a smoke. They want to see if they can catch one of these Execration kids on the way back, maybe farming on the side. They gather on Medusa, and they just kind of creep on forward. Been pretty quiet since that big fight breakout on the bottom lane. They're just looking to kind of build more supply and ammunition before they kind of go toe-to-toe once more.
Yep, moving around with the Geometry side, they're trying to get back control of the map, also maybe get a gank play off, but it's hard to get a surprise out there if you're dewarding while you're making the move. They'll still get some good vision in the enemy jungle, know where Anti-Mage is farming, maybe find a jump on him, but when you consider the fact that they don't have Hex, it's essentially a Chronosphere or bust. Like, maybe they initiate with an Echo Slam to chain stun him, but otherwise, like, you trying to jump in with a Ancient Seal is going to do nothing. He's not using his Manta to farm that often, and it's also a really short cooldown. A lot of people don't know, but melee heroes have the shorter cooldown on Manta style. It's only 35 seconds instead of 50. So I mean that's allowing you to be more active across the map in general. And Doc X, yeah, he's been mobile. He's been moving across. He does occasionally use Manta style of the farm, so I guess that is a small timing window where Mystic Flare, or sorry, the Ancient Seal could pick him off. But you have to be in the position for that, and with him blinking on a 5-second cooldown, it's just hard to be in the right place at the right time.
And he's also throwing together his own butterfly, it looks like. So we got two Titans here who are going to be evading each other quite a bit, unless Medusa does throw together an MKB, but then that means no BKB. Well, we'll figure out what she wants to do and how she wants to prioritize her damage output. If she wants to make sure she lays down the law against this AM, or if she just kind of will hope to RNG that it works out to their favor. Top lane's being pressured a bit. Execration being spread thin, working from top to bottom. It looks like more so a better spread right now for Mythtrust, as it looks like they're going to do a bit of rinse and repeat here. They smoke up. They head back towards enemy territory. This time, though, we have a couple of Execration in the mid lane. 3 to be exact right now, as they are creeping forward with the 4-man hit squad. No Viper involved in this one, but Lakelz is. Fissure Chrono, Mystic Flare combo. Easy work. The 3rd time already, I believe I've seen this game, that Death Prophet get caught out with that. Not like that there's much he can do, but just a great setup coming out from Mythtrust, catching her out, and really their teammates even just kind of have to watch from the outside and sheer terror.
Yeah, you have to have sheer paranoia reflexes to be able to Yules out of that Chrono. Yeah. So in that situation, there's very little you can do, especially from that flank. Like, who expects that to come from that direction? But yeah, in the end, it does bring him down, and without buyback, this gives the map to Mythtrust for the moment. They're just going to use this as an opportunity to farm. I mean, they do have a really good late game lineup, as we've seen, and Medusa going to be picking up one more item here. Makes it to the side shop. Is that going to be like a second sky? Oh no, we don't even get to see. The Corey just gets killed off, and
oh, what? AM, what are you doing? Oh, he is in the other territory, and he gets a quick courier snap with something in it, a magic 2k gold. Uh-oh.
Yeah, there was going to be an Aghanim Scepter for the Void very shortly, but it was actually the Medusa that was bringing it to the secret shop. It was actually Lakelz who brought it out there, and it looks like he was going for something from that area, and the only options, obviously, are Scotty, Heart, and Butterfly for him, or going into Demon Edge or Sacred Relic territory, so I'm not sure.
2K cargo, though. It's not Demon Edge. Well,
no, it was the 2 components for He's Aghanim Scepter.
Oh, it was.
2 out of 3 on that. But Medusa was going to buy something there, and I think it was going to be attack damage related. Demon Edge, Sacred Relic, something like that.
Demon Edge, probably. Unless she's going to go full blown.
Oh, yeah, he just walks up and buys it there.
Yeah,
okay,
Demon Edge, there it is. So we'll see. It's no BKB, buddy. We got to get an MKB together. That pesky little AM has got a butterfly. We got to make sure we can hit him once and for all, not get through that evasion. So now charging down this mid lane, Lakelz for her team. Throwing it together. We got a little bit of time before we see what the exact clock is going to be here for Roche. Not too long, so this could be Mythtrust just kind of spreading out their side, keeping them away so that they can find their own space by that Roche pit, because that could be our next big engagement. Doc X has been bottom. being slippery, pesky, as he can be, just side pushing, hiding himself in the trees, but relatively calm and quiet, cautious play from both sides. See, Tide's been like standing here on post for like, I don't know, feel like 3 minutes. And there's that MKB. No buyback for me. Oh, no, she actually has enough for buyback. She's rich.
Oh, split farm is so hard. And especially with the fact that you're rocking the Midas for this duration. Like, he's had this item for 35 minutes. So the ability to just kind of build up that reliable gold, like, he's been purchasing. He's been a big spender, but he still has 1,600 reliable banked up. So he still, even if he dies, is going to have that buyback. And that's just good gold management right there. Really good usage of the Midas. And
they know they're smoked up in the woods. They see a sentry hit the deck because they already have a sentry down out of the blue. They're like, oh, well, they ping it out. A sentry appeared out of nowhere. There might be some invis people nearby. And sure enough, there's smoke. They ping it out now as they see them. They get nothing out of this gank attempt from the side of Execration. Good map awareness. Good wards down coming out from Myth Trust, but now Execration know there's no one nearby. Let's just go ahead and get a head start here on Roche. They're not going to commit an Exorcism for it, though. They're going to go sheer on right click, and they're going to get it real quick right now. It's going to actually fall before Myth Trust can get it close enough for any sort of contention. It looks like they might pull back. They don't want to engage now, and it looks like Execration are going to walk away with an easy Roche. AM has a double damage, though, and he's like, I wouldn't mind fighting.
Yeah, I would love to get an opportunity there, but it looks like the positioning really isn't there with the team and the Anti-Mage, and that's the big thing. But, yeah, looking at Away, he did just hit level 16. That means he does skill up level 3 Ravage, and that makes mana management a little bit more difficult. He gets the third point, which brings it up to 325 mana cost, and totaling that up with the Refresher Orb, that's 1,025. So he is right now 60 mana away from actually being able to double Ravage, but of course, if you use your Arcane Boots properly, then that's still going to be an option. But again, have to worry about things like the Mystic Snake, burning through your mana, and he has to be very careful about how he uses it.
They're going for two different lanes. AM solo pushing down the bottom lane, and Medusa's now forced to come in from the north, and they're also pressuring mid lane for the rest of Execration. The Exorcism trying to go into the high ground, do a bit of damage, but it's not doing a whole lot. They're keeping the creeps back and outside the base, so that Exorcism might actually go out to nothing. And AM can't really break into the grounds either. Viper is watching guard on this bottom post, but it looks like Primo a bit desperate to try to make something happen. Needs a bit of damage coming out. Nothing really there. Even a 4-step forward. Oh, but big damage comes out here on Visage, brought down to about half life. Bottom lane still AM pressuring forward, trying to take down that side. Oh, no, not going to be able to take down that tier 3. Still a little bit life left. And look at this, even Tidehunter split pushing from the top. Execration coming in from all sides, sheep herding Myth Trust into their own base.
Yeah, they can't just brute force one single vector. They can't go through one steps, because if they do that at the choke point, they're just going to see that Chronosphere. They're just going to get rocked. But right now, we do see a lot of damage coming to the Anti-Mage. He's dropping very quickly. They have to Echo Slam him, though. No Echo Slam means no kill, and they know that that's cooldown is more important than AM's Aegis. So they go ahead and reserve it, because obviously that's their ultimate defensive tool, but all the same, it would have been so juicy to just break him down.
Yeah, good patience right there from your Earthshaker to reserve that, because that could be the big game changer on any sort of careless push coming out from Execration being clustered together. So got to save that slam button, and he will. So they pull back. AM walks away, just a little bit wounded, but still with Aegis in hand. Has a couple more minutes to put it to use if they want to, and they'll just kind of take advantage of the Myth Trust farm on their side. On the way out, even Away over here, he's got a sweet double or triple stack that he's currently taking down with that Anchor Smash, getting himself closer to what looks like the Shivas. So he's in good standing right now. But like you talk about Myth Trust, they have really good high ground defense. So I'll have to see how long Execration want to split push. We might see a battle of the Titans here, bottom lane, with Earthshaker getting involved. Echo will be committed this time, however, and they still won't even take him down. So,
yeah.
Ooh, maybe they thought they could make something happen, but unfortunately he gets away with an Echo committed and no Aegis down. He'll just simply heal up, and Execration have one more opportunity with 2 more minutes to go to make another push now into the base, not having to worry about Echo Slam.
Yeah, I think they thought that if they killed him there with the Echo Slam, they could have killed him twice, because they had no pressure on their other lanes. They could have brought in the Void and the Skywrath, and his Manta was on cooldown. So if the AM respawns there, he gets Silence or he gets Chronosphere, depending on who's in range. And I think they thought that if they commit the Echo and they get that kill, they get him twice, which is the big deal. And in this case, it's not going to be true. That Heart still giving him just barely enough survivability, and he's actually going to buy out BOTs. Check out who's rocking the cash this time around. 8,300 gold after buying BOTs.
Wow.
And just looking to fill that 6th item slot. What do you go?
This guy's freaking wealthy. You can just buy sentries and sell to your teammates at this point, for God's sakes. But no, definitely reserve a bit of that for your buyback. But at this point, yeah, I mean, do you dare tussle with the idea of a 6 slot or a courier slot that you put into use? Right now, he's eating a lot of right click here. Lakel's, even with that MKB, doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot to AM right there. That's just an early flirt right there. But top lane, though, they do make a nice jump. Silence followed with the Chronosphere. Mystic Flare follow-up. Viper Strike. How many ultimates can they dish out? It's enough to finally take down just his first life. Double Ravage, though, catches back Mythtrust very nicely inside their own grounds. Pressing forward, Dogsy looking to clean on up. Bursts down with a huge Mana Void on Lakel's, who's forced to now buy back. Exorcism out in full force. They're going for this tier 3. It's going to be taken down promptly so, and Lakel's can't do anything. Stunned promptly and pace. That's what happens when you don't have a BKB. Susceptible to oh, this is over. Out now. No buyback. 120 seconds. It's AM who's right-clicking everyone down at this point, and still execration with everyone. Everyone's still alive. Cleaning out these last 2 racks. This might be your GG call for Mythtrust.
Man, Doc X is the Gorgon Slayer here. She pops the Stone Gaze when she's completely out of mana. It's her last vestiges of mana that she digs into to pop that ultimate, and then immediately just pops to that Mana Void. Just the perfect target for that.
Like
so
a
honestly, they had nothing. They use their ultimates very willy-nilly. They get hexed out, they get stunned out, they fall to the double ultimate of the Tide. Just nicely played by Execration. Not enough patience for Mythtrust with those ultimates, and in the end, they come up wanting here at 48 minutes.
Yep, and that will wrap up our game number 1 for this early morning's Summit 2 by G2A.com C Dota experience. We got 3 more games to go. Your next matchup that's going to be coming, and actually, I believe there might be a small break at this point. Let me go ahead and double check the timing right now. Our next matchup is going to be between First Departure and MVP Phoenix, and that is to take place at 20:30 Singaporean time. I want to say that is, let's see, 2, that's 4, that's 4:30, I believe, according to our local clock. That is what, Blaze, an hour and a half from now about? Just under an
Yeah,
hour
25.
Okay, so there's a small break right now, about an hour and 25 minutes from this point right now. We are going to have our second matchup of 4 tonight between First Departure and MVP Phoenix. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. If you like what you heard, be sure to stick around and listen to the rest. You can catch me over on my Twitter at CoddleGuy. Blaze, thank you so much for joining me for this early morning casting session. Find him over on his Twitter at BlazeCasting. We'll be back in just a moment. Hang around.